They're going to cram ideology down the throats of the kids. And this is where this is headed. And we said before this nincompoop got elected that this would happen, and here it is. You can find it under prisonplanet.com, and I think you should read it. If you've got children, grandchildren, you better be interested.
Well, you know, Bob, we mentioned it many times in this program prior to the election even, that was part of the agenda on the debates between McCain and Obama about these community service programs. And so it was on their agenda prior to the election. I mean, they knew exactly where this was headed. The program was probably already written. It just needs to be in place.
Yeah.
I mean, why else would they include it in part of the debate discussions between the two? 6 months prior to the election. 3 months.
Well, Americans are going to find out that they're living in a nightmare. They're going to find they're going to lose their jobs, 1/3 of them. That means 1/3, 2/3 that have jobs are going to have to support their kids and grandkids. I'm talking about the older people, 55 and older. And your whole life is going to change. It's not going to be anything like it was before. I mean, there were 100 shops in the mall. There'll be 5 of them open. This is what this is coming to. And, they're running around now confiscating property if people plant vegetables and things like that on their property. These are called the agricultural Nazis. I mean, it's incredible what's going on. And I get more and more letters every day, 10 or 15. I want to leave the country. Where do I go? And, we're short wave. And I want to say to all those people out there that are listening far, far away from America, if you get any commentary about your own country and you think Americans ought to go there as an alternative, well, email me. And we'll give that information to the subscribers and the listeners here on the program. But you saw what happened this week on Wednesday. $1.2 trillion more they're going to spend. That's a total of $13 trillion by September. And, I've been telling you on this program, they've been secretly, they being the Treasury Department, has been secretly selling Treasury bonds and notes to the Federal Reserve, which creates the money out of thin air and buys them. And then credits the account of the Treasury with all those dollars, and then they go spend them, monetizing it. And then the Fed takes the bonds and lends them out, makes the money on them. And they also sell them into the market, not in big bunches, but slowly. And that's monetizing, which means inflation's going to go absolutely crazy. And I figure it will take them $5 trillion just to keep the ship afloat. I mean, you haven't seen anything yet. And what that tells you, that process of monetization of debt, is that the foreigners are really pulling back in their purchase of U.S. government or dollar-denominated debt. And that's not good for America, but they deserve it. I mean, they spend money like mad. Government spends money like mad. What else did they expect? So we are going to have hyperinflation. It should start showing up next month, maybe April. But it's on the way. And, you watch CNBC and you think everything's okay because everybody's in the same situation. They all say, well, the bottom of the market's in and it's going up. They're crazy. Or they're liars. And this rally will be over in one more week in the market. Could go to 7,800 or 8,000 on the Dow. I don't think so, but it could. That's it's already had a 20% rally, and that's all I think it's worth. So we must fiddle around in this area for a week, and boom, it'll back down and test 6,600, and you'll see plenty of panic selling, and it'll break it and go to 6,000. And if we go to 6,000, we get a shot at 5,000 in September, October. And that means that all those pension plans and investors will be out from the top of the market, which will be at that time probably 2.5, 2.25 years. They will have lost 70, 65, 60% of their money. And that's the way it's going to be.
I got a question here. Let's see. Wrong one. With all the money the Fed is printing, and it kind of plays in with what you were talking about, the inflation and everything. With all the money that the Fed is printing for long bonds and mortgage-backed securities and purchases, we should expect to see rising prices eventually. But the question is the timing of this. Isn't it true that the velocity of money is very low now, and that until the velocity of money picks up, we won't see huge price rises? Is it possible that this could take years to play out?
It could take... Well, let me back up here. The velocity of money right now is low. But in this particular instance, it might change very dramatically. And the reason why is we're getting immediate monetization of the money that's being pumped into the system. We don't have to wait a year and a half to 2 years to have this hit like you would with deficit spending or with the creation of money and credit. Usually a year or more. With monetization, the interplay between the Fed and the Treasury, it happens like right now. And so the velocity of money could pick up very, very quickly. And this is a different kind of inflation that's being created, something that happens maybe once every 50 years. I mean, usually when the Fed goes in and buys or sells securities in the market, there's a normal ebb and flow to it. But this is not normal, and it's not an ebb and flow, it's a spike. So I think velocity could start very quickly.
Can you explain just what is a derivative and why they are used? Also, why is the total amount of derivatives in the world greater than the total GNPs of the world economies?
Well, the reason that the number of derivatives are bigger than world economies is that there's no control. They do anything they want, and they're usually made between two consenting or agreeing parties, and they're not traded anywhere. If you want to get rid of one, you have to go around and ask people who might want that sort of thing if you'd like some. And what it is really insurance. The whole problem with derivatives is, number one, there's nobody watching. There's no legislation. I mean, they can do anything they want. And supposedly because they're consenting parties and they're all professionals, well, if they destroy themselves, that's their business. Oh, it doesn't work quite that way. I mean, we get the public who's going to get hurt, too. But what they are is an insurance policy, credit default swap, a derivative. What is that for? You own $1 million worth of General Motors bonds, and you're willing to pay somebody a premium in order to insure them. The problem is, when Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and AIG and Merrill Lynch went under, which they all did. Even though Merrill's still in business, AIG's functioning, but it's owned by the government, the taxpayers. They were writing insurance derivatives, and they had no money. They were not putting money aside to cover losses. They were pocketing it. And that's why they all got in such trouble. They thought the game would never end. And, of course, it did end. And so that's what they are. How many of them? There's two figures I've seen from reliable sources, so who knows.